airplanes, you generally want to try to face the plane in the direction of the oncoming wind. That device out there is called a windsock, and that's showing us the direction the wind is blowing. It's kind of blowing that way.
Yes.
So we want to take off on this runway, which is over here, that goes this way, but it'll put us best into that path of the wind. It just makes the takeoff much more safe and easy to do, as opposed to flying with the wind hitting us from the side.
Okay.
One last thing I'm going to do before we get this show on the road is do what we call an engine run-up to ensure that the engine is operating properly.
Edenvale traffic, Skydive 1 coming up to the south end of the drop zone, 2300 in the climb, going to switch over to 2285 momentarily.
So I'm glad you guys came up early because we were scheduled for 1 o'clock and the forecast calls for some excessive winds later in the day.
Okay.
Which I don't like bringing first timers up in that because it might be a little scary for you. All right, the engine checked out perfectly fine. I think you'll calm down when you get up there. You're from what she was telling me, you're like me, you're afraid of heights.
A little, yes.
Yeah, well I am too, but planes don't seem to bother me.
Oh.
But I won't climb a ladder. You'll never catch me on the edge of a building.
Okay.
Edenvale traffic, Juliet Kilo Yankees, backtracking 3-1.
Every once in a while I have to make a radio communication like that to let other people know what we're doing. That way it just keeps planes away from each other.
Okay.
I just told everybody that we're on this runway, that way they don't try to land on us.
How many planes are flying right now?
In this area?
Yes.
It's hard to tell. I would say at least 4.
Okay.
Just from the little bit of time when I was waiting for you guys, seeing a few planes taking off.
Now, who would use this runway if it's not for these activities?
Well, there's a lot of people with their private pilot license that have planes and fly to different airports, and
So there's a few small airports in the area?
there's quite a few. Yeah,
Oh,
in
okay.
Ontario, I would say there's got to be well over 100.
Wow.
Pretty much every little town will have an airport.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to maybe give us a bit of sunshade because it is a little bit bright.
Okay.
Okay, so if you're ready, I'm ready. We're gonna get going. We're gonna take off.
Yes.
As we start to climb out, it might move a little bit. The plane does that because of the winds, but the higher we get, the smoother it's gonna get.
Okay.
Okay.
Edenvale traffic, Juliet Kilo Yankee is on the roll, 3-1, straight climb out to 2,000 feet.
I control the plane with the stick that's in my hand right now. Simple as that.
Wow.
We are off the ground and going.
Leaving altitude.
Well, we can't see Sarah.
No, I don't see her. Are you familiar with this area at all?
Not really.
No? Well, right up here, where you can probably see the blue over there, that's Georgian Bay.
Okay, yeah.
And right over there is Wasaga Beach.
Okay.
Off to our left, sort of in the front, that's Collingwood and Blue Mountain Ski Resort.
Okay. That's actually as much as I know.
Okay.
I wouldn't know to pinpoint it though.
I hear you. So we're coming up on 1,300 feet over the ground.
Okay.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to level off right around here. Don't really need to go much higher than this.
So is that the altitude?
That is the altitude above sea level.
Okay.
So the oceans are 0,
Yes.
But this area of Ontario is already 700 feet above sea level, so we have to do the math kind of backwards.
Yes.
When a pilot flies, they talk about how high they are above sea level, but above ground level is a different thing. That's why I just know the area, so I know we're 1,300 feet over the ground.
Okay.
I just got to be ready to tune into a different frequency to talk to or hear other pilots in the area, because we don't want to fly too close to other planes.
Okay.
And then I'm going to show you how to control this thing. The one thing I'm trying to do is see this place down here where it looks like ball diamonds and stuff?
Yes.
I want to avoid that because that's where they drop the skydivers.
Oh.
So I have to be away from that area where their drop zone is.
Okay.
Appreciate that, thanks.
So what I'm thinking is, well, we have two directions. Well, we can fly in any direction you'd like, but we can go that way towards Collingwood Blue Mountain. We can go this way towards Midland, Penetanguishene up the coast. We can go towards Barrie, whatever you'd like, but or just wherever, it doesn't matter.
Let's go towards Collingwood.
Okay.
Actually, is there anything unique to see on that side?
Well, there's Wasaga Beach is right here, right?
Okay.
It's just a long coastline with nice beaches, right? But this way they got the ski resort and all that stuff.
What's the most scenic view, I guess?
I think they're both equal as beautiful, so I don't know.
Okay,
Hard to tell.
Let's go with Wasaga Beach then.
So what we're going to do is we're going to get you to start controlling this thing, okay?
Yes.
So what you're going to do is you're going to pick one hand, whatever one you want. Yeah, put your hand on the control stick gently. And I want you to feel what it's like when I turn the aircraft. I'm going to take the plane and do a turn towards the left. All I'm going to do is take this stick and do a little push like that.
Okay.
See how the plane starts doing a bank?
Collingwood area traffic, helicopter Foxtrot, Lima Bravo Alpha, just taking off from the Collingwood Harbor.
If I want to stop the bank?
Northwest to Barrie, or Owen Sound, 1500.
Now we're back to level, and we just give it a little shake to keep it level.
Okay.
And if we want to turn right, it's a little pull to the right. That's it. And you'll notice you just start it, and it will do it for you.
Wow.
So there's two movements there. I'm just going to pull it back straight again. And I'll show you a third movement, which would be to climb. So this is where it gets tricky, because when we're turning, another thing happens. We start running out of energy, so it starts to sink. So we usually have to climb a bit when we turn.
Leaving
So
altitude.
to climb a plane, you pull back like this.
Okay.
See how the nose came up?
Yes.
This tells us that we're in a climb.
Oh, yes.
That being the case is I'm adding a little bit more power because I don't want the plane to ever go too slow, and I'm going to watch that today. Don't worry about that.
Okay.
And if I want to level back off, I just push the nose down. Now we're flying level again. The way we know we're flying level is this guy right here. If the needle is on the 0, it's level. That's pretty much level there. There's a little bit of a climb happening again. And to descend, all we do is take the stick and push away from us like this.
Go down, yeah.
And you can see that we're going down,
Yeah.
the pitch of the aircraft.
Yes.
The other thing that happens, you'll notice this dropping. It starts to go to a lower number. So I'll level it off there. And I'm just going to leave it in your hands to play with. I'm going to keep my hand close by for safety.
Okay.
But feel free to move that stick around and get comfortable with it. Usually it takes people a few minutes to really feel what it does.
Only a little.
Yeah, it's just little tiny movements.
So that was me?
You're doing it. I'm not doing it. My hand's away from the stick.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Now don't worry, I'm not going to let you do anything on those controls that are going to get us in trouble.
Okay.
I do this every day. I'm a flight instructor, so I teach people how to fly.
Okay.
How are you with the height so far? Half and half?
Yeah, half and half, yeah.
Okay. Hopefully the longer you're at the control stick, you realize that these things are very predictable.
Okay.
It will do what you tell it to do, you just got to know how to tell it. Contrary to what you see on the movies, these things do not fall out of the sky. They don't.
It is quite sensitive.
Very, very sensitive, yep.
Yeah.
Calling with traffic, Harbor 6 Buck Golf is departing runway 31. We'll be going, turning to the north.
So as you can hear, other pilots are talking. They just kind of let each other know where we are and what we're doing.
So is it a longitude and latitude that they're saying?
Not
For location, how do they identify themselves?
Well, they'll identify themselves first of all by what area they want to talk to. So the last guy said Collingwood traffic.
Okay.
So he's talking to all airplanes in the area of Collingwood. And then he told us his name. His name will be the registration.
Oh.
And we do that in phonetic alphabet. So that is Charlie, India, Juliet, Kilo, Yankee. And he just said that he is flying, northwest at what altitude he's at.
Okay.
So we would know if we were in that area to watch out for him.
Clear to drop, Scott, I have 1. Wasaga Beach area traffic, be advised, we are 1 to 2 minutes back from drop-in jumpers at 10.5 to 11,000 feet, not overfly our drop zone 1 mile east of the water tower at Wasaga and 1 mile south of the town.
That's pretty cool with the clouds right next to us here.
Yeah.
Well, you're doing very well on it. You're not overreacting, you're doing small movements.
Yeah, because I'm nervous.
I understand.
But, alright.
But like I said, don't worry, there's nothing you can do with this plane that's going to get us into trouble. All nice sandy freshwater beaches up here.
Yes.
So if you have any questions for me about flying, ask away.
Okay.
I don't believe there's any such thing as a stupid question because I understand not a lot of people fly, so go ahead and ask, but...
To be honest, I wasn't even ready for this. I have no questions yet.
And if at any time you feel like turning the aircraft in a drastic different direction, go for it. Feel free. We're not limited to any direction here.
Okay.
Every once in a while you may feel the plane bounce and stuff. That's turbulence.
Okay.
The turbulence is created by the sun. What the sun's doing is as it heats the earth,
Yes.
it heats up the air near the ground and hot air rises, so it starts rising up in a big mass and it'll hit the belly of the plane and shake us.
Oh.
Don't get crazy nervous if you feel it. All we do is plug through and fight it.
Okay.
When we're over the water, the turbulence is very minimal because the sun's energy is absorbed by that water and it doesn't bounce back up.
Okay.
I'm just noticing as you're over top of land a bit, you might feel it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
So it feels like we're barely moving, right?
Yeah.
But we're going pretty fast. We're doing about almost 80 knots. 80 knots is, what would that be similar to? Similar to about 95 miles per hour.
Oh, wow.
So 95 miles per hour, we're doing 150 kilometers an hour. We're already all the way up in the town of Midland.
Traffic, jumpers in the air, They are about 3 miles northwest of the drop zone, just along the lake shore on the west side of Wasaga, working their way back.
So in 13 minutes, we already made it all the way up to Midland. And if you had to drive that, it would take you well over a half hour, 40 minutes from Edenvale.
Okay.
So we get places pretty quick. That's why a lot of people become pilots, because they want to be able to fly places fast.
Okay. How much does it cost to have a plane?
It all depends on the aircraft. I've seen some aircraft as cheap as $12,000.
Okay.
This particular aircraft's in the $100,000 range, but only because it has all this digital instrumentation. This aircraft is equipped with GPS, autopilot, all these features, right?
Yes.
Where most planes won't have that because people don't want to spend the money for it.
Okay.
So without this setup, a person could buy a plane like this for about $60,000.
So it'll be like those manual analog dials?
Exactly.
Okay. And in the movies, you see them sometimes tapping it. Is that just a movie, or do they get stuck, or they have to be resetted somehow, or recalibrated? Or, I don't know.
Well, the tapping it would be, yeah, that's pretty exaggerated, but it can happen.
Good morning, Hollywood Unicom. This is Fox.
It's happened to me once, 25 years ago in a plane. It's just an older gauge. It was sticky, so you just gotta. But I've never seen that in anything I've flown in 25 years, so. It'd be no different than your clock stopping at home and you're just giving it a tap to try to get it started again.
Yeah.
Now the gauges in an aircraft are all done through wind pressure or air pressure and barometric pressure. So right now it knows how fast we're going because there's a little tube on the bottom of the wing called a pitot tube, and as air is being slammed into that tube, it's creating pressure behind this gauge, and the gauge rises because of that pressure. The altimeter is a barometer.
Okay.
So
Wasaga Beach,
the higher a plane goes, the different the air pressure changes, thus causing the needle to go around.
Okay.
So they're not 100% accurate. They're pretty close, but it's still one of the more accurate that we have. Like nowadays they use GPS. This plane uses both. It has GPS brain, but it also has the analog barometer in there. So the computer talks to itself trying to figure out, it'll average the two things. So you'll get the most accurate on a gauge cluster like this.
Okay.
So the one thing we're not going to want to do is fly through the cloud. We're not going to want to fly through the cloud because we want visibility at all times.
Sure.
So what we can do here is we can either descend below it or we can turn around and go in the other direction.
Let's go below it.
Sure. So you're doing all the right things. You're just pushing that stick forward a little bit and then bringing us down. The engine throttle in this plane, if you haven't realized already, is right here. This is it.
Okay.
So when I want to add power, I push it in or turn it in or turn it out.
500, descending on a east heading right now. Going to be down to 3,000, then head towards east.
And what altitude should we be at on average, or go lower?
No, well, in this area, legally, we can't be any lower than 500 feet above the ground.
Okay.
So that would put us all the way down at, let me see, 1,300 feet, is we don't want to go any lower than that. They do that to keep us so we don't bother people.
Yes.
If we get too low, people are going to be hearing planes flying over their house. They're going to not be happy. It's also a safety thing for the pilot too, because if the engine fails in a plane, the plane glides.
Okay.
If you're too low, you run out of options of where you can go to land. So whenever we're this high, if our engine failed, I would probably go land in that big yellow field over there. See that one that looks like a runway?
Yes.
I'd probably go right there, or maybe even one of these. I would just kind of look at it, circle down, and then we'd just land it.
Okay. Have you ever had to do an emergency landing?
I have years and years ago, never in this plane.
Okay.
Back when I used to fly really junky planes.
I guess everyone has to learn on something, right?
Yeah, and then also when you're training, when you become a pilot, to get your license, you do simulated engine failures with your instructor a lot.
Oh, okay.
So you do it to the point that you're comfortable and that the instructor's comfortable that you can handle it. Then you get your license.
I'm gonna let you take over.
Sure, I have control.
Okay.
So I'm just going to turn us in this direction.
Sure.
It got a little turbulent because of the cloud above us.
Oh, okay.
So that's a little bit of that thermal activity I was talking about.
Okay.
So usually the darker the belly of the cloud is, the more turbulence we're going to get like this.
Sure.
So I'm just going to turn away from it.
Okay, that's cool.
Maybe go back out to the coastline here.
That's cool.
Nice and calm over there. And you let me know when you want to take it again.
Sure.
Approaching altitude.
So the reason why the computer just said that is because I set a little blue bug there.
Okay.
At 2,000 feet. And it doesn't mean we have to be there.
Okay.
I just put it there so it's a gentle reminder that we're leaving that altitude.
Okay.
There's another plane right over here. See that? Right off in the distance over here. Flying.
Oh yeah, yes, I see.
I'm just going to make a radio announcement here so this guy knows where we are.
Okay.
Midland area traffic, SportStar, India, Juliet, Kilo Yankees at 2,000 feet directly above La Fontaine, flying southbound along the shoreline.
Seeing if I know who that is.
Are they supposed to respond back?
Not necessarily. I'm surprised he didn't because we're very close to each other.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I don't know that guy.
I guess to acknowledge, right?
Yeah, generally it's just a courtesy. They would say, yeah, I see you and I'm flying this direction.
Yes.
So you on the controls again?
Yes, I am.
All right, you have control.
So is there different frequencies in terms of when you speak to people?
Yes.
So if he's on a different frequency, would he know that he cannot communicate to you?
No.
Okay.
Now, generally, part of your training to become a pilot is to know where to look for the frequencies for the areas you're in.
Okay.
So that's part of flight planning. I know this area like the back of my hand, so I know when to put the frequencies on.
Okay.
So we are definitely on the correct frequency for this area. That guy might not be.
Okay.
So he might be from far out of town, not realizing. The one thing with flying a plane is you come across people that could be flying all the way here from Florida, from British Columbia. You never know, right?
Yeah.
Because we can get far very fast.
Yeah.
Like for me to get to Toronto with this takes me 40 minutes.
Wow.
And that's to land at the island airport.
Could you land on the island airport?
Yep.
Okay.
As of right now, yes.
Okay.
I think they're closing it down soon.
Oh. I'm assuming not Pearson.
No. Pearson, they try to restrict traffic of small aircraft because it slows everything down.
Yes.
You could if you had an emergency. You can declare an emergency and they'll let you land there.
Okay. So you said that this dial is how steady I am?
Yeah, if you're either climbing or descending. So it shows that you're in a real tiny climb, but it's so small.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, see now it went to a descent.
Dipping.
So the one thing we don't want to do as a pilot is to get too focused on this because it'll drive you crazy.
Sure.
As long as like your flying is pretty darn steady.
Okay.
A lot of people get on that control stick and the plane starts going drastic. Oh, here,
wow.
here. So it's not about overcorrecting, it's just minor increments.
Okay. I guess you kind of feel your way too.
That's right.
Or look at the horizon also.
The horizon's the most important thing for the pilot.
Yeah. height that you would not want to go beyond? I guess when the oxygen gets too thin.
Yeah, this aircraft is capable of flying as high as 13,500 feet.
Oh.
So we could go that high. The only problem is when you get over 10,000 feet, the air is very thin. And above 10,000 feet, if we're going to do longer than a half hour of flying up there, we need to bring oxygen on board.
Oh, okay.
Because we're going to get hypoxia, right? It's very similar to being drunk. So you could go that high. The reason why I don't like to take first-timers up there, first of all, it burns a lot of gas to get up there.
Yep.
It's going to take us a long time to get there, and your flight will be over by the time we get there. You're just going to go up and down. You don't get a chance to really do what you're doing and fly and play with the aircraft.
Exactly.
So if I was going somewhere far, like doing a trip to Florida, I would go up to maybe 8,000, 9,000, maybe 10,000, depending on the winds up there.
Okay.
Because the winds tend to be very strong the higher you go. And a pilot will check all the weather services and pick the winds that will be a tailwind to help them go faster.
Oh.
So that's why I would take advantage of going up there.
On the roll, 3-1 left-hand turnout for Toronto Billy Bishop.
Like for instance, right now we're doing 85 knots ground speed. It tells us our ground speed is now 87, 88. Okay. Our airspeed's 81, so we're being pushed by the wind a little bit.
Oh.
If we went up there and it was a 50-knot wind, add 50 knots to that speed, and that's much faster you'd be traveling to your destination. So even the large aircraft that, will take you from here to Hawaii or something, they factor all that in to save fuel and to get there quicker.
Okay. Now, what's the furthest you've ever flown?
The furthest I've ever flown, this plane was to Florida.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so, and you flew from this airport?
Yep.
So in terms of immigration, I guess going across the border, you have to notify someone, I'm assuming?
Yep.
Okay.
24 hours prior to your flight, you have to log on. All pilots are showing how to log on to the website.
Yes.
You used to do it through a 1-800 number.
Okay.
You would call. What you're doing is filing your flight plan. You tell them what airport you're going to arrive at for inspection and what time.
Okay.
You tell them how many people you have on board. They make sure you have your documents. They'll say don't show up here unless you have your passport.
Yes.
And they're waiting for you at that time. So you got to be pretty accurate to how quick you get there.
Okay.
You're not supposed to go and fly and then start sightseeing. Get to where you got to go first.
Yes.
Do your inspection. After your inspection, you're free to go. No different than driving over with a car.
Okay.
Inspections last 5 minutes.
Okay.
Check your documents. Sometimes they'll look in your luggage.
Yes. Oh, okay. And how long was that flight?
That flight to Florida, it was about 9 hours of flight time.
Okay.
I did it in the course of 2 days though, because I wanted to enjoy myself.
Yes.
So I flew to an airport and land in Tennessee and have dinner and get a hotel room, relax, have fun.
Wow.
Like a road trip, but a plane trip, right?
And what kind of fuel does the plane take?
The cool thing about this aircraft, it takes both types. It takes aviation fuel, which is a lighted fuel, or it can take the high-grade Supreme gas from a station like Shell, as long as it has no ethanol.
Okay.
So it's got to be no ethanol, high-grade fuel.
Okay.
So Shell is one, for instance, that I trust because I've never had an issue with their fuel.
Yes. And you had to refuel when you were in Tennessee?
I didn't have to, but I chose to.
Okay.
Yeah, this aircraft's capable of flying 7 hours non-stop without needing fuel if you fill it up.
Wow.
So that's about 700 miles. That's quite a distance.
It is.
About 1,000 kilometers, right? A little more.
Wow.
But trust me, your bladder won't last that long. So I'd like to fly for like 3 hours at a time.
Yes.
Take a break, have lunch.
This is incredible. This is great.
So we're back over Wasaga. If you want, we can descend and you can get a good look at the beach.
Sure, let's do that.
All right, so start pushing the nose down and maybe fly a little bit in this direction. So the beach is going to be underneath you right now. So we're going to turn that way a little bit.
Okay.
I'm going to reduce the power so you can do a nice descent. That's it.
doing too much.
No, it's fine. This is our boss here, the airspeed. As long as the airspeed is not drastic, like 120 knots, we're okay.
Okay.
You control your speed by the stick. If you want to go faster, you push down. But this is about as fast as we probably want to descend at.
Okay.
There's a cool view of Wasaga Beach.
Yes, it is. Lots of people.
And we can go as low as 500 feet above the water if we wanted to.
I'll let you help me with that.
I'll tell you where that is.
We're dropping.
Hollywood traffic, Julie Whiskey Golf, starting downwind.
Right around here would be 500 feet, so we'll just pull back.
Okay.
There you go, there's a neat view.
Nice.
Yeah, the winds are starting to pick up. I was worried about that later in the day when we had our appointment for 1 o'clock for you.
Oh, yes.
And I called her last night, I was panicking. I was like, no, don't drive 2 hours and we have to cancel you. Like, it's fine for training my students, but I don't like to take first-timers up when it gets really windy, because that's when you can have some violent movements of the aircraft, and I don't want to scare the heck out of you, right?
Where's the wind speed on this?
Well, this does tell us the wind speed is right here, 11 knots,
Oh, okay.
and the wind's coming that way. See how you're drifting?
Yeah.
That's where the pilot uses the pedals. So if I take my right foot and push my right foot down, watch what it does with the nose. See that? It turns the nose this way,
Okay, yeah.
and that will get rid of the wind drift.
Oh.
So we're kind of flying crooked. We call it flying crabbed.
Okay.
We're crabbing into the wind. You have great control of this thing.
I thought those pedals were for the wheels only.
It does the front wheel, and it does the rudder at the back.
Oh, the rudder,
But
okay.
even during this flight that we took today, this is the first time I'm touching them.
Okay. Oh.
If I put it back to neutral, watch what happens.
Hollywood traffic,
There's
Julie
neutral.
Whiskey Golf, is
See us
bringing
drifting?
a very long
Yeah.
extended downwind.
So now I'm going to correct that.
Hollywood traffic, RV6, Yankee Quebec Delta is at 3,000, 8 miles southeast of the field, heading for Toronto City Center.
Yes.
Yeah, I really like flying at these low altitudes, but it comes with a cost. If our engine failed right here, it would kind of suck because we would have to land on the beach
Oh, yeah.
because we're so low. We run out of options, right? Like we
Okay.
wouldn't be able to glide all the way to those fields. We're too low.
Okay. Oh, yeah. So how many, what is the, I guess the procedure for learning to fly?
The procedure for learning to fly is usually pick a flight school, pick what type of flying you want to do. This is the very first stage of learning how to fly, the cheapest way to do it.
Okay.
The way I usually deal with my students is I don't like to pressure anybody to do anything. If they want to fly, they will call me. They will tell me, hey, Bill, I'm available on Thursday. Do you have an opening for me?
Okay.
I'll say, yes, we can do. How long do you want to do? An hour or 2 hours of lessons? They'll say, I want to do an hour. Okay, Thursday I have 11 o'clock, I got 3 o'clock, I got 7 o'clock at night.
3-1.
They pick a time,
Yeah.
they come to the airport, we do a flight for an hour. As we do the flight, we check off certain procedures.
Oh.
You have to do all of the procedures before you can do your license test.
Okay.
The initial license is done with me, but the written portion is done with Transport Canada in North York.
Oh, okay.
So whenever the pilot gets to the point where they're ready to write their test, I send them with a letter of recommendation and my signature and my license number, and prove that they've completed all the exercises practical.
Yeah.
Then you can go and they assign you a computer and you write your test, and after that your license is granted.
Okay. So how long would that process take, roughly?
I'm averaging my students at 25 hours. So we're talking usually about $4,500.
Charlie is currently level at 4.2 over the town of
I'm
Thornbury.
talking about from a beginner to getting your license.
Yeah.
Just south of the town.
So let's do a turn to the right.
Yeah.
Here.
I don't want to get too close over there because there's a Collingwood airport and I don't want to be in the vicinity of those flying planes.
Oh, sure.
So actually what we'll do is we'll do a full turn all the way around.
Okay.
Yeah, so from beginner to get their license, like I said, I average people at 25 hours.
Okay.
Certainly there could be people that take them 35 hours. It depends on how good your skill is.
Yeah.
And how quick you pick the stuff up. Some people get it in 17 hours.
I feel like I'm going too fast.
Right now, no.
Oh, okay.
No, your speed is perfectly fine.
Oh, okay.
It's
Midland area.
what you're
traffic,
having is
Harbor,
what we call illusions created by drift. It's because the wind drift is changing,
Yes.
and you're getting illusions. It's tricking your brain.
Okay.
And that's all part of flight training. We fly until you know how to sense those things.
Okay.
Because I can see it confusing a new pilot and scaring the heck out of you.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is we're going to take the plane and we're going to go in that direction right over there. We're going to climb us up to, I don't know, we'll go up to 2,000 feet. So you can begin pulling back on that stick, let the plane climb. So some people get their license in as quick as 2.5 months.
Okay.
Some people take a year to do it.
Yeah.
It depends on, obviously, your budget,
Yes.
your availability of, to come out and learn. All those, and weather. Weather's another big thing that really starts affecting us. Yeah, so we're going to go sort of, this is perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, right here. But we'll just gradually climb on our direction this way.
Okay.
There is a ground school portion that's required. It's 20 hours in class.
Okay.
I host one with my school.
We're 1,400 in the climb for 1,000. Going to continue the climb northbound towards Main Beach.
Also, you can do them online that are registered, recognized by Transport Canada. They're around $225 to do it online.
Okay.
Has to be an approved Canadian flight school to do it at. And that's learning all your theory and how to navigate. All that stuff is taught in the ground school portion.
Altitude.
Okay.
The practical, we teach you how to fly the aircraft, emergency procedures, all of that stuff, right? So the airport we're going to be going to is right there. See that long runway there?
Yes.
Way up in the distance? We're going to continue in this direction and fly parallel to that runway.
Oh, okay.
We can remain at 1,700 feet because that's actually our target altitude to enter into the landing pattern.
Okay.
There's an actual pattern we have to enter into to land. We can't just go and land.
Oh.
So you're on target for it. Maybe just a slight turn to the left. A little closer, we'll get to the airport. Right around here, I'm going to announce our intentions so they know that we're coming in.
Edenvale traffic, SportStar India Juliet Kilo Yankee is just over Wasaga Beach, 1,700, and going to fly us straight in downwind for runway 31. Check that. Skydive 1's coming up over the drop zone, 2,700, should be no conflict.
So what we're going to do is you're going to gradually push the nose down. We want to get the needle to the 7.
Okay.
I know it'd be hard for you to understand this in one day, but what we're essentially doing is there's the runway.
Yeah.
We're coming in here like this,
Yeah.
and there to land.
Oh.
That's the actual landing procedure. We call it the circuit.
Okay.
But in order to meet those targets, we still have to come down in altitude a bit more. So just push that nose down a little bit.
Yeah.
This is all the stuff you'll learn when becoming a pilot. How to land at an airport, how to enter the circuit, how to fly the circuit.
Approaching
Very
altitude.
nice. So right around here, we're just going to go parallel to the runway,
Yes.
just in this direction.
So we're facing turbulence and drift?
That's right.
Okay.
So yeah, it's going to get challenging a little bit.
Oh, wow.
Feel that turbulence?
Yeah, yeah.
So right here, I'm going to make another radio announcement.
Okay.
Edenvale traffic, Juliet Kilo Yankee has established left downwind, 3-1, full stop.
So should we be higher or?
No, we want to be at 1,700 feet, maybe a touch higher. Just pull back gently on that stick. Obviously, I don't expect anybody to be able to get a great command of their altitude in 40 minutes. It generally takes a good 4 hours of flying, really, before you get the hang of that.
Okay.
So you tell me when you think you can't do it anymore and I will take over.
Okay. I think when we get to the point where we have to turn,
Okay.
I'll let you take over.
Okay. So just turn us out a little bit more to the right, just a touch more. There you go. This is called the downwind. So right now, this is where the pilot inspects the runway, make sure it's clear.
Oh, okay.
I look to make sure the windsock is still favoring the runway we're pointing into, and that it is. Yeah, it might be a little turbulent on our way down on final approach.
Okay.
A little bit more to the right. Perfect. All right, we're getting close to the point where I'm going to have to do the turn.
Sure. Okay.
Okay, so I'll take control. I have control.
Okay. Yes.
You can still keep your hand on this stick and feel what I'm doing.
I do.
Just don't lock up on it, right?
Sure.
All right, so right around here I'm doing what we call our left turn to base. We call this base leg.
Okay.
Edenvale traffic, Juliet Kilo Yankees turning left base, 3-1.
I'm still maintaining an altitude of 1,700 feet.
Yes.
Right now I'm going to start slowing the aircraft down, reducing my engine power. I want to get that airspeed going into that white area. That means it's safe to deploy my flaps.
Oh, okay.
Here's my flap lever here, 1 and 2. But now just kind of control the descent with the stick. That's all I'm doing, is trying to control it. And trying to maintain an airspeed of 65 knots.
Edenvale traffic, Juliet Kilo Yankees turning final, 3-1, full stop.
So right now the engine is off. It's not doing anything.
Okay.
We're just gliding down.
Okay.
The only time I need my engine again is if I feel like we're sinking too quick, I'll
Okay.
add a little bit of power.
Okay.
But right around here, I think I might need just a bit of power. There we go. And this is where the pedals become useful, because I got to straighten the nose out so we don't land crooked. So if I push my left foot down, see how it brings that nose straight?
Yes.
Right here, I'm going to shut that power off again. Power's right off. And we're just floating. A little bit of gusty wind coming up. So notice how the nose is crooked. I'm going to keep riding it off until the last minute when I'm going to have to probably push the pedal a bit. There we go. A little bit of wind gust on us. Simple as that. We're on the ground safe and sound, man, and I'm just doing a bit of a wheelie. I'm holding the nose wheel off the ground.
Thought so.
I'm doing that on purpose because if I drop that little nose wheel, it tends to oversteer.
Okay.
Like that. You'll feel that swaying that goes on. There we go.
That's really smooth.
Well, thank you. All three wheels are on the ground now. Well, you did really, really well. See, it wasn't that bad up there.
Oh, it was good.
I'm just applying brakes right now with my feet. Up on the very top of these pedals are brake pedals as well. Turning.
Edenvale traffic, Juliet Kilo Yankees clear of 3-1, backtracking 26 to the apron.